I spent over $500 on groceries. Nuts, right? However, there's a plan. There's a method to the madness. This might seem like a lot of food for just two people, but there's a couple of things that I was buying with in mind. First of all, was saving cost over time, and two was food preparation for any natural disasters. I live in Florida, and I live specifically in the Tampa Bay area, which a couple of years ago was hit by two hurricanes pretty much back to back within like 2 weeks. And we saw a lot of the devastation that happened here. We would drive down streets and we would just see piles of furniture, mattresses on the side of the road just waiting to be picked up for months. And so we also had to evacuate at that time because in the area that we live, it's a high flood area. It was a little bit of a struggle to figure out like what food are we taking and making sure that we had the ability to make it while we were evacuated at the time. There's a lot of things here for cost saving purposes. I'm going to do a quick run through of some of those things. We have some veggies here. We have some bell peppers, we have some carrots, we have some celery. I also have some zucchini and squash here. And these are items that I am going to prep for either use this week or for the freezer. I'm hoping to utilize as much of my freezer as possible. This is one of those cost saving elements. We do use bell peppers a lot for like stir fries, things like that. The celery gets eaten within the week. I'm not worried about that. Carrots, we love to eat all the time. It's a easy vegetable. It's very forgiving with flavor and it's sweet. And then the zucchini, we love to eat in all different shapes or forms. The other way that we're cost saving is we do eat a lot of cheese in this house. So while I only have one bag of each here, I did get a bag of mozzarella cheese from Costco and Mexican style cheese as well. A lot of this stuff is a combination of Costco and Walmart, simply because those were the two places where I could either get it in a large quantity or at a decent enough price. And I know that depending on where you live, you may find that some places are cheaper for these things than others. Let me know down in the comments what you do to save money on your groceries. I also have some basil pesto, and I'm going to freeze this. Have to grate this sharp cheddar cheese. And then we also have some canned goods here, or I should say shelf stable items. And I did buy a couple of cereals for a treat for myself, but we also have some mashed potatoes, which all they need is a little bit of heat and water to make. So this is perfect for like a night when you don't feel like putting in too much fuss into your dinner, as well as it's light. And so this is good for an evacuation part of a meal, right? I have a ton of jellos here because some of these I'm going to use to make gummy bears for my husband. His birthday is coming up, so he absolutely loves, loves gummy bears. So I'm going to try making some for him, which is why I also have some unflavored gelatin up here. I have a few pastas here because these are also shelf stable and they're good. To keep on hand, we have some diced tomatoes, and then down below, I also have 12 cans of green beans and 12 cans of corn. I have some maseca here, which is corn masa flour. This is good for making tortillas. I know people will use this for a lot of other items as well. And then I have 6 chicken stocks, and at the very bottom, I have some dishwasher pods. There's a lot of other miscellaneous things in here too. I wanted to try a few new recipes, so I ended up picking up a small packet of basmati rice. I also have some pineapple tidbits, and this will come in handy for when I have the pistachio jello along with the mini marshmallows. If you have not heard of a Watergate salad, it is delicious. I think some people call it like the senior citizen dessert, but it's really good. You can honestly make it a lot of different ways. I know some people will add not just pineapple, but they'll also add in like sliced mandarin oranges. They may add in a few cherries. And what you do is you basically make this jello mixture with Cool Whip, and then you add in your marshmallows and your fruit, and it's delicious. I get excited anytime somebody makes it because most of the people my age, A, don't know what it is, or two, think it's weird. Um, so so I'll keep this on hand. And the nice thing is that a few of the ingredients that I have grabbed, besides Cool Whip, which I decided not to, are all shelf stable. So if there's ever a time where I'm like, oh, I need to whip up a dessert for something that's coming up, but I don't want to go out and buy 20 different ingredients, I already have something that's kind of ready to go. I also have some croissants here. I'm going to put those in the freezer. So either in the morning or in the afternoon when I feel like having one, I can take one out, pop it in the toaster oven. I got a couple of vitamins as well because I am getting a little older and I want to make sure that I'm getting all the nutrients that I need. Besides eating cheese, I don't really do terribly too much dairy. I need some calcium help because I am getting a little bit older and I am a woman and we do have bone density issues. So I picked up some Citracal. This is a slow release. Ladies, do it. Get some. Listen, even if you don't get the slow release because you can't stand tablets, which I'm going to see how these work out. I saw some that while they're not slow release, at least you're getting a dosage of it. They have chewable calciums that honestly look like chocolates, and those seem good. You can take whatever you can afford because we all know vitamins can get expensive, and two, whatever is going to incentivize you the most to actually take it, right? I also got some Ollie's multivitamins. These are gummies. I have a hard time taking my vitamins, so I figured in reward for taking my Citracal in the morning, I could then take my Ollie's, a little bit later on in the day. I also got a little swayed by the internet. I was watching somebody doing a review of like what's new at Costco or what's a good deal. And while I couldn't find these particularly at Costco, I did find them at Walmart and I wanted to give them a try. And they're these, I don't know if it's Groons, but they are gummy bears. They also have a kid version of this too, in case you're looking for picky eaters of yours. This is made with a lot of fruits and vegetables to make the vitamin with. And they come in these individual packets. You get 12 packs for this one here. Let me see if I can get the price for you. Okay, for a pack of 12, $19.97 is what I paid, which is a little pricey. But I'll tell you that I got these with pretty much one specific reason in mind, and that is when I'm traveling on the road, I know that I am really bad about making sure that I am getting all of my nutrients. I didn't want to travel around with a whole thing of gummies. And if you know anything about gummies, if you take them like out of the packaging and kind of let them live with other pills, they're going to tend to dry out. So I like that these were individually packaged. So these will come up with me when I do road trips, when I travel abroad. So that way I just make sure that I have what I need in my body when I need it, and I'll feel good without having to carry a lot of all these other things that I take. Editing Jasmine here with an update about the Gruins. They're no for me. They're not. They're not for my taste. They're a little too gritty, a little too medicine-y tasting. I'm sure they'll taste good to someone else or at least get the job done, but there's a lot of those gummies in a little packet. I want to say like 6 or 8, which, considering how they taste, is way too many for me to ingest. So don't feel afraid to try them. Just know that they may not taste super fantastic, and that if you are somewhat picky like I am, they're probably not for you either. But that's just my opinion. For fun, I got some Tic Tacs. And what I would like to do with this haul is A, put it away, and two, I would also like to show you guys how I intend to prep some of these items for the fridge/freezer. So if that's something that you're interested, Stick around and I'll show you a little bit more about that. Okay, the first ingredient I'm going to start off with organizing is going to be these pine nuts. Now, these are actually a pretty expensive purchase, but I am hoping to use a lot of this for our meals. It is a good source of a healthy fat. Let's get these packaged away. Now, the best way to store these is in the freezer. They last up to 6 months. You can store them in your fridge for a couple of months, and they can sit shelf stable for a few days. I know that they come packaged shelf stable, but once they've been in the store and sitting for a while, they start to go a little bit quicker than they would if they had been stored somewhere very, very cold. There is a lot of fat content in these, which means that the nuts can go rancid quicker than you would expect other nuts to. So just keep that in mind. So this is going to go in the freezer. And then I'll keep the rest of this amount of pine nuts, which is about this much left of the bag, in the fridge. Next, I'm going to store these croissants. I'll be using a plastic bag for these. I will keep one out for later on today, and I will save a few of these in the fridge, and the rest will go in the freezer as well. These are going to do wonderfully in sandwiches for later. And there we have it. Next, we're going to end up doing a lot of chopping. Now, for the celery, I'm actually going to end up putting this into maybe a jar or two, and then the rest of it I'm going to put into my husband's bento. I'm going to cut up some small pieces that I can use in conjunction with onion and carrot, so it can be used in stews and things of the like. We're also going to go ahead and give these a quick rinse with the colander. And just to make it a little bit more pleasant, I am going to cut the ends off. If your ends look fine, you can, of course, keep them. Okay, I'm going to set this container aside to add half of this space left with carrot, and then we'll be able to refrigerate that as well. But the rest of these can all go in the fridge. Next, we're going to go ahead and prep our zucchini for the blanching. Now, there's a couple of things that you need to know about blanching zucchini. First thing is that you want to prep it in the size and shape that you want it to finally be in before you blanch it. So we're not putting in the zucchini whole for blanching and then taking them out and cutting it. We're doing that process first and then blanching it. If you're going to do small little pieces like you're going to see me do here in a moment, just be extra careful and use a proper strainer. The other thing you're going to want to have are a bunch of towels to pat things dry before you put them in the freezer. And third thing is that you're going to need an ice water bath. So once you have all those things prepared, then you can get to it. First, we got to wash our zucchini. The nice thing is that this week I will be using one of each of these for dinner, so I don't have to prep these. I can just leave this for the fridge. By the way, this little contraption here is my next best thing since the mandolin. The mandolin scares me. I won't use the Kevlar glove. It's just not. I think one time I was using it and it like took off part of my nail, and I said never again. I don't want to sacrifice fingernails for that, or finger tips either. So instead, I have a couple of attachments that I can use instead. I'm going to start off with this one that looks like it's for large grated cheese. I'm going to use that for my zucchini, and then I'm also going to use this one single slicer as well. Okay, this is all of my zucchini and summer squash, and I'm going to go put it in for 3 minutes. And here I have some ice water. My ice already melted, but that's okay. Here I am acting like an expert, and then you guys see this happen. After cooling down the temperature of the zucchini, now is the time to go ahead and lightly squeeze to get some of the moisture out. And then pat dry. And now we bag. So here we have our zucchini, and this will be used for my modified version of Korean pancakes. The traditional Korean pancake is made differently, but I do take inspiration from it and I make my own using shredded zucchini and squash. So while I am going to take on a very similar process with the carrot, I figured I would share with you how I'm doing the cheese. So, because it's basically the same process with the carrots versus the zucchini, except I'll be doing a couple more shapes and the times slightly vary. For each of these bags, I'll be using 3 of these to store the cheese in. 2 of them will go into the freezer, 1 of them will live in my fridge. If you want to get even more specific with your bagged cheese, you can consider measuring out how much you are going to put in each. So let's say you're going to use these for recipes later and you know you're going to need 2 cups worth of a specific cheese. It's easier to go ahead and measure it out ahead of time, label the bag so you can just grab it and go. On the other hand, I use feeling. I will always measure the cheese and then add more. So having exact amounts don't always work in my favor. Okay, for our final segment, I am going to take this basil pesto and I'm going to put it in the freezer to kind of partially solidify it. There's a lot of oil in it, so it will never get truly hard, but I have these tiny little things. I wish I had bigger ones, but I'm not going to buy new things if I can use what I have. So for any recipe, I'll probably end up using about 4 to 6 of these, and that's okay with me as long as it's easy enough for me to grab out. So I'm gonna spoon some of this pesto into these guys, and then when they're frozen, I'll take them out, put them in a baggie because they'll kind of keep their shape and keep them in the freezer. Whatever doesn't fit on these guys, I'm going to keep in the fridge to use later on this week. Thank you so much for joining me today. Would you spend this much on groceries? Let me know down in the comments. I hope you guys are staying happy and healthy and making sure to take care of your body with all the stuff that's going on out there, all right? So take care. Bye.